Hello, my name is John Forsythe. I'm a managing director here at Deloitte Consulting in the United States, and I'm here with my friend Yves van Durme. Hello, my Belgian friend. How are you doing?
Very well, John. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again. We're here recapping the topic of leadership since we first started producing the Human Capital Trends in 2011. And I know we've both been involved for several years, Yves, in the Human Capital Trends, you even longer than me. Why don't we start off by you going through and sharing what are some of the themes that you've seen on the topic of leadership since we first started producing the Human Capital Trends report?
Sure, with pleasure. There have been many. The leadership has been one of these categories where we had trends almost every year looking at leadership. Back in 2011, we even had three trends about leadership. One was about a regulatory environment and the complexity of leading in increasingly complex regulations. I'm not sure we would say the same thing looking at it now. It has been probably even more complex. We looked at it from filling the leadership pipeline and looking at new techniques. And we also looked at collective leadership, having a bit of a system where leaders can thrive and having clarity on the system that you play in. In 13, we looked at debunking the superhero myth in terms of many programs had that you clone the perfect leader in hoping that all the benefits of that perfect leader. Yet we realized that the environment is so complex and there are multiple complexities to deal with. What was also interesting is sort of the entry of looking into individual leader performance, not just sort of at averages, but individual leader performance, early signs of that. And then I'm jumping to 2015. It had been the top issue, the top talent issue for 2 years in a row, has been a top issue for many years, but a top two. And we called it a perennial issue, where it was coming back in terms of very important, quite significant gaps. And it was something in terms of we struggle, many organizations struggle to feed the leadership pipeline. How do we tailor experience for uncertainty? And that was one of the topics coming into play. The next year, we thought that leadership had awakened from the sense that it was very important, but the readiness was improving, in part due to 10% year on year increased spend investment in leadership, which I think was an interesting sign. At the same time, the results were not there yet. And there was only 7% of response that said that we have excellent millennial leadership development programs, only 13% global leaders, and succession was barely a bit better, 14%. So it was early signs. In 17, we switched to disrupted leadership, and it was all about digital leaders and looking at how digital leaders, we have different sort of leadership needs. We need to have investors for digital ventures, and we need to have pioneers, and we need to have transformers, and they all need to sort of think differently and act differently and react differently, which is fascinating in the context of these digital transformations, how we wanted to be ahead or look at being ahead of the curve. And in 18, we started looking at a slightly different perspective. We talked about the symphonic C-suites. We wanted to look at the top team and to what extent is a top team actually a team and when is it performing. And it was actually very insightful that that was not the main team. There was the team that worked together in a crisis and on some long-term interdependent elements, but actually it wasn't really strong of a team. So all sorts of symphonic melodies, music analogies could be made in terms of increasing collaboration, showing the example, probably interesting perspective in terms of, yes, your individual leadership, but also part of a team. And then the year after, we started looking at the 21st century leadership, which was a bit of that discussion, like what are the skills, the capabilities that are still relevant? You and I have been around for a while. What is still relevant? What is a bit new? And we looked at juxtaposing these two. What are traditional? What are new leadership skills? And that leads us to close to today, I think.
No, and I think you and I both agree. We've had many discussions about the complexity of being a leader, and when each of us talk to our respective clients, what we talk about in this fast-paced, changing world is we know the business environment has changed, right? It's become much more fast-paced, and you've got to be much more agile. We know the technology environment with artificial intelligence and automation, the digital transformation. We also know that workforce expectations have also changed. They look to be motivated and inspired. They're looking for meaningful work. They're looking for more recognition, more flexibility. And also societal expectations have changed in terms of the corporation's role in sustainability. So my bottom line to our leader clients is you have to lead differently than you were led growing up in your career. And that's a hard thing to undo because you're used to following a role model. All right. What we mean by that is, top-down leadership might have been, successful when you were growing up in your careers and the bosses you work for, but now the model is co-creation, working with your workforce, seeking input from them, and partnering with them in ways that we never got when we were growing up in our careers. And there's also the shift away from bottom line at all costs to understanding the true power of the humans in your workforce. If you can make them successful, your business becomes successful. And that's a different mindset that people have had to shift towards. And last, understanding that you as a leader aren't only responsible for the outcomes of your business, but you have societal impact that you're paying attention to, and your shareholders outside of your corporation. So it continues to be a complex topic. Leaders continue to struggle, but we continue to help them navigate this fast-paced changing world. So thanks for the discussion, Yves, and we're all excited to be sharing our 2025 version of the Human Capital Trends coming out in March of 2025, and I know leadership will again be a major topic in that report. So nice talking to you, and have a good day.
Thank you.